The next company that I'm going to introduce you to, you've seen a bit of Joel today, but Matt's going to be joining him. So Matt and Joel are from Thought Africa, and they do amazing work, and they're going to be sharing what they've got within their space and the product that they are sharing. So welcome, Joel and Matt.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you to the audience that's been watching all day. We've been part of this educational conference that's been going on for about 12 hours now. No, not 12 hours, it's going to be going on for about 12 hours by the end of 9 p.m. tonight. There's 2 panel discussions and lots of exciting things. Karen Walstra and her educational change conference today has been addressing some amazing topics around learning management systems, online learning, different coding, and just it's amazing to see how so many people from around the country have come together to put together educational solutions that are providing quality education to kids and substituting a lot of what is being put out there by the government, not to put them down too much, but yes, they've been adding a lot of value from reflective learning to simple and just some amazing features. Matt, thank you for being here with me on this and, well, together, I guess.
We've been in the back end. It's absolutely a privilege to be able to join the conversation now as the guest somewhat, Karen. And we've got a few things that we would love to share with all of you about how Thought Africa has attempted to disrupt a bit of education up to now. I think what might be appropriate, Joel, is let's just give a little bit of a background as to why the solution we provided has been as such.
Sure, why? That's a big question. It's broad. I mean, if you're asking me personally as Joel Kaplan, it's because from the time that I was at school, I never enjoyed school. I did everything I could to get out of the classroom environment. And then I left school just to jump back into the education space and then start understanding how I could start providing resources for kids to let them actually explore what they want to do. So just actually asking the question, what do you want to learn rather than what's dictated to them? And that was one of my priorities.
Thinking back then, could you relate much of your learnings in school to any real world application? You mentioned a little bit earlier, you were on just giving a bit of an introduction around 10 a.m. about EMS not being as applicable to you, economic management sciences, and your journey, I suppose, as a high schooler. Is there anything that you had learned back then that you physically apply today?
I wish I could actually say yes. If I'm honest, it's one of those things where I have thought about the question, and I don't remember, well, I can't retain any of the information I learned in business studies. I remember we learned things like understanding what different abbreviations stood for and X, Y, and Z. But for me, I learned and maintained the knowledge when I had learned it practically. So either by making a mistake or actually physically going out and doing it myself. And then I think that's where things should actually be going is like how tactile can we get kids to be with their education, and especially with things that they want to do and things that are relative to them.
100%. So today we've heard some phenomenal companies sharing a bit more about their solution. Fourth and fifth industrial revolution has been floated around a few times, and it's one of those things where technology in the education space, edtech, is almost a non-negotiable right now. Back then, you mentioned that you didn't necessarily have that much application in school, yet I think too simple you were engaging with, even at a young age, 13 years ago or so. How prevalent do you see technology as like working into what we're doing at the moment, and to the people that actually have need it most?
So we've turned this somehow into an interview style. If anyone knows, Matt has got a podcast or an outcome podcast, so I'm not surprised we've gone this direction, but that's okay. So I'm actually just going to fast track the story into where the question is that 1st of April, we noticed that there weren't any educational solutions out of there bridging the gap of education, providing resources for kids that didn't have the luxury of being able to just jump onto a Zoom call or a Google Hangout or have the convenience of a teacher availing their time. And we launched EduCare. We did that as a campaign to get kids these EduCare packs with educational resources. And we did a couple of drops, but we always left so dissatisfied, and we left afterwards, you know, with all these Facebook or Instagram comments. It's like, oh my God, amazing work. This is so cool, etc. Thank you for doing this. But it just isn't enough. We're not even touching the surface of the millions and millions of kids that don't have this access to quality education. And while there are solutions out there, you've taught me value, convenience, and support. You know, how convenient is it for kids to get access to these really amazing first world solutions that we've seen today and probably will see throughout the rest of the day? And then how are those solutions actually providing relative value to those kids? So what are we actually giving them to go and learn or take away? And who are we as educational companies, as Matt and Joel, or any of the other companies we've seen, or even Karen on your own conference, like who are we and what right do we have to dictate exactly what kids should be learning?
Right.
And why are we not asking the question, what do you want to learn? And why are we not giving them that opportunity?
Sure. Well, that begs also the question, then, that support element, you know, out of the value, convenience, and then support, and then offering a form of solution. So as EduCared launched up, noticing that all these students hadn't had the opportunity to connect online, providing things that were based on real world application, but then also an opportunity that isn't it is cost effective, that is scalable, and that ultimately we're affecting as many of these students as possible. I guess is where the idea for the EduCared program, but then also later on the Thinkers Bot that Thought Africa had introduced.
So we actually have an entire presentation that we're not going to be showing today. I've just decided we're not going to show it because we've got a nice banter going on here, and we want to just talk from the heart. And essentially, what you've just said now is the Thinkers Bot solution, which is our WhatsApp chatbot. We noticed very quickly when going through different areas and different townships within South Africa that the most common device and common app on devices was WhatsApp.
Regardless of the size of the home, regardless of the amount of people in the home, at least one person had a smartphone.
I mean,
or something that they could log on to.
Yeah, I mean, and it's we heard a quote the other day, or not the other day, there's how many people are in Africa? If I'm not mistaken, there's 1 billion people in Africa.
It's testing me here.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it's plus minus, I could be lying. But there's something like double the amount of smart devices in Africa that have got access to WhatsApp. So yeah, those numbers could be
yeah. And also, why WhatsApp? Well, for us, it's a solution going back to the 3-tiered value, convenience, and support. We have found through our conversations with our thinkers, which is predominantly the ages between 7 to 17-year-olds, average around 10 to 12. It not only lowers barriers to entry to continue passing on resources for kids to be kids, but it allows equal access to a form of quality education. It is also easy access to that same said education. And because we're sitting behind the scenes, we're able to provide fast and personal support to regardless the students and where they might come from. One of the most beautiful pieces of synergies we've seen over the last few months is noticing that Model C students from some of the most private schools around the country are sitting on the same online conferences, the same online calls with our students that we've engaged with from different variety of townships and areas that have been able to just have the same conversation.
I think it's important that we actually show part of the presentation. Because, yeah, no, take it back. We need to give some context quickly. We're Thought Africa, and we have a Thinkers Bot where you can send hi on WhatsApp to 084 222 6924, where we've got no set lesson plans, no curriculum, just a range of resources to get kids onto our WhatsApp chatbot where they can come and engage in resources that they feel are relative to them. And then they can take those resources, send us back what they've accomplished, and then what do we do?
Well, we reward them. We incentivize with either data or laptops or goodies that are tech devices for completing challenges, for engaging with the bot itself, the Thinkers Bot.
So yeah, if you go and send hi to 084 222 6924 on WhatsApp, save that number as Thought Africa, you'll be able to get access to a whole bunch of our resources. We are giving away 3 Take-A-Lot vouchers this month in our Thinkers Play Grow Challenge. So kids can go and do that Grow Challenge. And these are some of the pieces of feedback that we've actually had coming through over the past couple of weeks, teaching kids upcycled vertical farming, teaching them how to make paper parachute things. Essentially, we refer to them as DIY challenges, thinking challenges, and things that just get kids thinking out of the box. And then they've got the opportunity to navigate the direction they want to go. The
beauty, I guess, sitting in the background, just to be completely honest, Jordan and I have been obviously managing the tech here and listening to the incredible organizations that have been sharing what they have. It almost sounds as if a lot of us are speaking the same language. It's real world applications, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, it's makerspaces and online learning. And we're trying, just like like everyone else, I suppose, to make it as relative and as applicable as possible, but also to allow kids to be kids. Which is why, if you would have seen in that first slide, we we put out the bold statement of almost challenging conventional education and practical teaching methods. It's almost spearheading rather the thought that, do you need to be in a classroom to be able to learn something, or do you have to have a facilitator, an educator, a teacher explain or try to teach a particular life skill or a particular subject in order to learn? And whilst we're not slandering in any way the great work that has been put out there and the great work that currently is to come and is going on, I guess it's trying to work in combination, in unison with what everyone's doing.
100%. So part of one of the exercises we went through in the past 3 months was to actually go through a rebrand. And if you were lucky enough, you might have seen our new logo that we are launching on the 1st of September only, but you might have had a sneak peek there. With that rebrand, we had to identify our, what is it called? A brand personality.
Who we are as a company.
And what is our brand personality?
We're a magician type personality. And ultimately,
what is a magician type personality?
The magician type personality is the idea is to celebrate the hero. And the hero of the story is the thinkers, the students, the beneficiaries of all the recipients of the other end, the end user, and also the companies that are doing the great work that they are.
Everyone else. So we've often said, we've got lots of sayings around here, but the one thing is you say, you have to leave the ego at the door. We just have to separate ourselves from the great solutions that are out there. So we've seen Reflective Learning with their mathematics solution. Expect a call from us. We want to add some mathematics to it. We've seen Macmillan with their educational content. Yep, we want to add that free content as well. Just giving kids that opportunity to just navigate where they want to go. And then over and above that, we've got them, giving them the opportunity to meet with thought leaders on our Thinkers platform.
Nail on the head. So what does that actually look like? Practically, what does it look like? We always refer to connecting thinkers to thought leaders. It doesn't necessarily refer to a particular age. A thinker is anyone willing to learn anything from somebody else. A thought leader?
Yep, someone that's got a piece of specialized knowledge and a specific passion that they're prepared to share with a thinker. So that could be anything from people that are cardiologists. My sister, who's a pilot, is going to be teaching kids how to become a pilot. And then we have a range of other courses from Instagram influencing, gaming, 3D design, how to start a business with little to no money, and how to actually use artificial intelligence. So for us, it's like, how do we make it as tactile as possible for them to tangibly start working within that passion or that direction, and how quickly can we get them engaging in it and trying it out. If you don't know what you're passionate about, just try as many things as possible, I guess.
And to make it relevant somewhat, or to paint the picture a little better, the two resources that we've got at the moment, the Thinkers Bot you would have seen, are a lot of the challenges have been put forward from our very own students that we've engaged with over the last few months. These are boys and girls, as mentioned earlier, that are between the ages of 10 to 17, that have submitted their activities to us that we have put onto the Thinkers Bot. In our definition, we would consider those people thought leaders, and we're learning from them. On the other side, we have our Thinkers platform, which is the physical platform where thinkers and thought leaders will be talking and communicating. So the question often is, how is it that we are engaging thinkers and thought leaders? I suppose those are the two answers. One will be the Thinkers Bot, the other is the Thinkers platform.
So in wrapping up this conversation, to stick with the time schedule, I know we're going to be getting a 2-minute mark very soon, but we've encountered the issue even within our family and friends group where you say, like, what does Thought Africa do? We seem to not have that completely waxed, if we're honest with our audience.
Why don't you go back to the first slide?
What does Thought Africa do? So let's go back to our first slide, and we're going to actually show everyone what we believe we do 100% as the definition of Thought Africa.
We're also big believers in not necessarily reading off a presentation. So we're going to let that sit there for you to read it, and we'll try and explain it as best as possible. Consider this a 30-second elevator pitch. But alternatively, or ultimately, Thought Africa looks to give children access to quality education. How do we do that? Well, through our Thinkers Bot and our Thinkers platform, connecting thinkers to thought leaders.
No set lesson plans and no curriculum. We actually said that on a call earlier on the other week, actually, where we had the education department and some very prevalent people on the call, and we said that, and to our surprise, we're quite happy with the fact that someone was coming with just a practical solution for kids to start using their hands and start navigating, a future they want to create for themselves.
Of course. And we know that kids love a good carrot, a good incentive. And of course, having the EduCare program, a part of our beneficiaries, the people that we're hand delivering these the resources to, if they do not have access online, is an opportunity for us to also incentivize those same students to send us the photos that you might have seen a little bit earlier, or to engage with our Thinkers bots as they have. So I think whilst we have a minute or so, should we leave the floor for little questions, or?
I think we should bring in Karen to come and just say hello to us. Karen, actually, if anyone wants to know, we've been working with her for quite some time now. We have hour-long conversations, whether it's driving in the car, and really just getting a lot of input on how we go about doing things. So Karen, have you got questions for us? I feel like you're the most most qualified to ask us.
So these little souls that are developing these amazing products for you, how do you encourage more to do that? How do you get more children to get onto your platform? Are you getting children to share, or do we ask the audience to get their schools to share? How do we get kids onto the platform?
So if you want to get onto the platform, send hi to the number 084 222 6924, and Jax, our Thinkers bot, will start delivering a whole bunch of resources, and you can navigate where you want to go. So send hi.
With that being said, though, we do host weekly calls. So the thinkers that are part of our challenges or are part of the bots, we're talking to actively, asking them to share the numbers, or if they have anyone else that we can reach out to. We also understand that moms and dads are the ones that are often making the decisions in the households. And it's important for us to not only educate them about what it is that we're doing, but that they have the buy-in, and that they're there, part of the journey too, getting their hands dirty, submitting their own designs, winning Take-A-Lot vouchers.
Do you have any adult thinkers? Are there any adults that are doing your projects, or is it only children?
We actually do.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of parents who, kids enter the challenges, and then you see the parents take over. I wouldn't say quite quickly, but yeah, we've got some adult thinkers that'll join onto the calls and participate in the challenges. So it's quite an interesting mixture of ages that we've got on it.
The most prevalent actually that comes to me, we hosted in April a 3D design challenge, getting thinkers to create solutions to real world problems. And I think the audience there was almost, if we had a group of around 60 participants, I'd say about 20 of them were over the age of 20 taking part in the challenge, which was really impressive. They all went through the same lesson plan. There's no lesson plan, but they all went through the same challenge together, and we had the same students, the same things on board. It was awesome.
Thank you so much for agreeing to share the number with your students tomorrow. We are giving away 3 Take-A-Lot vouchers this month to the value of 10,000 Rand to 3 lucky thinkers who submit their hashtag ThinkersPlayGrow challenge. It's super, super simple. You've got to go and germinate a seed, build an upcycled vertical garden, and create some other practical related things, and submit those photos to us, and we will be sure to make sure you entered into that competition.
That's it.
Thank you, Joel and Matt. And thank you too for all the back end stuff you've done today. I don't know how to say thank you, but thank you for your care and involvement. So thanks very much.